Hey everybody, welcome to the Comedypreneur Show. I'm James Creviston. Today we're going to talk about joke stealing. Oh, yeah, that stuff where people steal jokes. And does it happen? Oh, it does. So before we get into this, please like, subscribe, and then here we go. Let's jump on into it. Hey everybody, welcome to the Comedypreneur Show. Today I want to talk about joke stealing. And it's one of those things, it's not really always talked about. It's not a big thing that everybody brings up, but it is brought up enough that people know about it. People know that Carlos Mencia has been accused of joke theft by Joe Rogan. Amy Schumer has been accused of joke theft by a bunch of different people. There's a Louis episode, so if you ever watched the show Louis, he had accused Dane Cook of stealing jokes. There's a lot of things like that where people go out and say, hey, this person stole a joke. Now, I'm not going to say yay or nay. They all stole jokes. I know for sure that a lot of people, and Carlos Mencia actually did admit to that, so that's a whole different thing. But what does it mean to steal a joke, right? Because a lot of us have the same ideas. If you go to open mic, you're going to hear people talk about Tinder. You're going to hear about dating. You're going to hear about people talk about their families or their kids or all these other things that are simple premises. Now, premises are the idea. You can't own an idea, right? You can't say, hey, I'm the only guy that does airplane jokes, right? You can't, because the 80s and 90s are full of people who did airplane jokes, right? Jerry Seinfeld. What's the deal with an airplane? That's a terrible Seinfeld. I apologize, guys. But that you can't own a premise. What you can own is a punchline. The intellectual portion that you wrote down is something that you can own. Now, you might hear somebody who does a joke, setup, style, premise about you. Like, hey, I got on the airplane the other day and there was a guy behind me that kept kicking my seat. So what I did was I turned around, got in the seat behind him, and started kicking his seat, right? Now, there may be a variation of that joke somebody said where they do a longer story and they talk about how they kick someone's seat and whatever. And maybe it's not the same setup, the same exact punchline. As long as you've never heard that person before, it's not joke theft. Now, if you go to a show, that person does that joke and you're following them, don't do that joke, right? And maybe drop that joke. If they get the bigger laugh or if they're the bigger name, you drop the joke. There's been a couple times where I've written jokes that were similar to what somebody bigger had. And when I heard them do it on a special, drop the joke. I just got rid of the joke. And that happens sometimes. Sometimes you come up with a great idea, a great setup, a great punchline, and it's too similar to somebody else's stuff. Now, would it be joke theft? Can somebody come up and say, hey, you stole so-and-so's joke? They could say it, but I could say, hey, I didn't, but they're famous, right? So they're famous. They own the joke. They get the joke. So just keep that in mind. Now, there's a lot of people, when they start comedy, they write out other people's jokes and then break it down. There's no such thing as homage. So it's not like when you start a rock band or a music band where you can basically play covers. There's no cover comedians. I don't know why you'd want to do that anyways. There's no cover comedians. So if your favorite comedian is Mitch Hedberg and you do his jokes, you're stealing jokes, right? That's joke theft. And that's not okay. There's crypto amnesia where it's basically like you do something similar, you heard somebody do it and you don't remember it, and so you write a joke and it's similar. But like I said, if you do that and someone calls you out on it or says, hey, that's so-and-so's joke, and they're more famous than you, you let it go. That's how it works. There's been a ton of people who've been accused of stealing, and you don't want to be that. Also, you get accused of stealing jokes, that puts a big damper on your comedy career. You don't want to do it. It's a big no-no. And it's kind of an unspoken thing, too. No one ever says to new comedians, hey, don't do so-and-so's jokes or don't do other people's jokes. Really, they don't come out and say it. If you do a joke, you say, hey, escalators can never be not working. They can only become stairs. That's a Hedberg joke, right? If you do that joke, somebody might afterwards would probably say, hey, that's Mitch Hedberg's. Don't do that joke anymore. Or they might say, hey, that sounds a lot like Mitch Hedberg's joke. Maybe you shouldn't do that. That's most likely what you're going to get. You're not going to get anyone to stand up in the middle of your set and be like, Mitch Hedberg thief. They're not going to do that. But learn to write a joke and dissect other people's jokes and then learn how a setup works, how a punchline works, how a tag works, all those things. But don't try to rewrite the joke. If you said something like, hey, they have a great joke about turkeys or chickens, and I'm going to do it about turkeys. I'm just going to swap chicken for turkey. That's what I'm going to do. That's joke theft. That's what Carlos Mencia would do. He would take like a joke about Italians and then just put the word Mexican in there. Or he would do a joke about he'd know a joke about cannolis and he'd swap it for burritos or churros or whatever. And he would just do that. He would just swap whatever other stuff for whatever thing he wanted to put in there instead, for Latinos or Mexicans or burritos or tacos or whatever other words he wanted to use that would fit his style. And that's what he did. He even admitted that he did that. So it's one of those things where just because you rewrite it or you tweak it, that's still theft, right? And I know if you ever taken an English class, right, there's a thing called plagiarism. That's plagiarism. You're taking somebody's stuff, you're not attributing it to them, and you're tweaking it just enough to get around the moderators or like what the truth is or what it should be. So don't do that. Um, I hope that helps you. I hope that helps new comedians. I know a lot of us have inspirations. I'm very inspired by Chris Rock. A lot of my first jokes were written in a very Chris Rock fashion. Granted, I'm probably not going to copy Chris Rock because there's a lot of words that he says that I can't say, but do your best, right? Learn, grow. I think I have some stuff about, why you should study comedy, why you should read books, all those things, because you're going to learn, you're going to grow. Just don't take other people's jokes. And if you hear someone do a joke that's similar to yours, maybe they've been doing comedy less, talk to them about it. Don't accuse them of stealing jokes right away. Try to be calm. Try to go up to them and say, hey, I have a joke that I did last week at this mic, and blah, blah, blah. This is the joke. Would you mind not doing that joke? Or maybe you can buy a joke off of somebody or whatever. I've done that. I've had people say, hey, I like that joke, and it doesn't fit my thing, but I just want to try the joke, and buy a joke off of me. And that happens every now and then too. So keep that in mind. Be honest, be kind, be the best comedians you guys can be, because there's a lot of you guys that are so funny, guys and girls. When I say guys, please don't take it as I'm just saying men only, that are so funny, so funny. I can't wait to see you all on Netflix and HBO and all that stuff, because there's so many funny comedians out there, much funnier than me, and I love you guys. I do this out of the kindness of my heart, honestly. I do this because I love comedy. I love sharing my knowledge. I love researching and nerding out on it, and I hope that it helps somebody. If it even helps one person, that's all that matters to me. So thank you so much for watching the Comedypreneur Show, and don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, all that stuff. Leave a comment down below. Tell me who your inspiration was and who you want to be like, and I will get back to you. I'll respond, and I respond to comments, so leave a comment, I'll respond, and you'll be good to go. Thanks again. Have a great one, guys. Goodbye.